Good morning, Birmingham Unitarian Church. We're so happy you're here on this drizzly morning, joining us here in our sanctuary, remotely, via Zoom, or watching this recording later on. It is good to connect with you. By greeting our virtual neighbors, we build a bridge between our online and in-person participants and congregants. First, we will project the image of folks who are currently on Zoom, staying dry, on our screen, and ask them to give us a wave. Good morning. Now, we invite you who are gathered in person to turn to face the camera at the back of our sanctuary and give those folks a big wave also. If you are visiting us for the first time, we welcome you. If you are with us in the sanctuary, we invite you to join us after service for coffee and conversation in Hoda's Hall, which is to the left as you exit our sanctuary. If you are on Zoom, we invite you to stay on the call for a virtual coffee hour immediately after the service ends. Whenever and however we connect with BUC, we are building this beloved community. The campus of Birmingham Unitarian Church occupies the ancestral, traditional, and contemporary lands of the Anishinaabe, Three Fires Confederacy of Ojibwe, Ottawa, and Potawatomi peoples. Bloomfield Hills is situated on land ceded in the 1807 Treaty of Detroit. We acknowledge Michigan's 12 federally recognized Native nations, as well as historic indigenous communities in Michigan. We also acknowledge indigenous individuals and communities who live here now, and those who were forcibly removed from their homeland. In offering this land acknowledgement, we affirm indigenous sovereignty, history, and experiences.
This morning's chalice lighting comes from Eric Walker Wickstrom. We light this chalice for all who are here and for all who are not, for all who have ever walked through our doors, for those who may yet find this spiritual home, for those we can't even imagine yet. For each of us and for all of us, may this flame burn warm and bright.
Will you please rise in body or spirit and join in singing a really fun morning hymn today? Number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. There's several verses that all repeat each other, and they're just exciting. So we need a lot of energy this morning to bring to our service. Here we go. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Today
We bring ourselves as we are, accepting and embracing each other as we are, and calling each other to be what we may yet become. We nurture the human spirit and challenge ourselves and each other to vision and action in our quest to explore meaning, find purpose, make peace, do justice, heal the world.
Our story for this morning is called Strictly No Elephants by Lisa Manchev. The trouble with having a tiny elephant for a pet is that you never quite fit in. No one else has an elephant. Every day, I take my elephant for a walk. He doesn't like the cracks in the sidewalk much. I always go back and help him over. Well, that's what friends do, lift each other over the cracks. Today, I'm walking my tiny elephant down the street to number 17. It's Pet Club Day, and everyone will be there. Come along, there's a good boy. I coax him the last few feet. It'll be fine. When I look up, there's a sign on the door, Strictly No Elephants. My tiny elephant leads me back down the sidewalk, never minding the cracks. That's what friends do, brave the scary things for you. It starts to rain, and we keep on walking. We pass a little girl sitting on a bench. Did you try to go to the pet club meeting too? The girl asks. Yeah, I say, but they don't allow elephants. The sign didn't mention skunks either, the little girl says, but they don't want us to play with them. They don't know any better, I tell her. He doesn't stink, the girl adds. No, he doesn't. I agree. What if we start our own club? So we start walking to the park. Come along, I say, making certain that my tiny elephant follows me, because that's what friends do, never leave anyone behind. As we walk toward the park, more and more kids with their pets start walking with us. More and more and more. We can play here, one of our new friends says. All of us. The tiny elephant and the skunk and the bat and the armadillo and the narwhal in her bowl. All of us. So we paint our own sign over the door of our new clubhouse, and it says, all are welcome. And we fix it up so everybody can play together. You can find us in the park if you'd like to join us. My tiny elephant will give you directions if you need them, because that's what friends do. So today, we're going to make some special treats for us to share with everybody in Horace Hall for our baker space. So come and join us afterwards for some tasty treats. At this time, we'll have all of our children and youth meet us at the back of the sanctuary as we head over to Horace Hall.
The mission of Birmingham Unitarian Church is to be a free and welcoming religious community that encourages lives of integrity, learning, service, and joy. One way we live out this mission is by giving half of our weekly offering to a nonprofit organization that shares our values and addresses needs in our community. The recipient of our plate sharing through the end of September today is one of our cherished longtime projects, the support of Walt Whitman Elementary School in Pontiac. Since 1998, we have fostered learning for kindergarten through 5th grade students by stocking and operating a mobile library in the school. We also do some tutoring and conduct other programs that help students learn and feel supported by their community. Your offering will be used to buy books for the library, supplies for our programming, and occasional necessities for students. This morning's offering will now be given and received in a spirit of generosity and gratitude. Our ushers, please come. With gratitude, we dedicate this offering to the good works of our congregation and dedicate ourselves to its service.
Now is the time in our service we set aside for spiritual practices, and one of the longest traditions we have as Unitarian Universalists is the sharing of joys and sorrows. And I'm very happy today to be able to share with you multiple joys. The first one we have is from Terry Milbauer. It says, "Joy in seeing the John Lafarge stained glass windows at the Detroit Institute of Arts, which were formally installed at the First Unitarian Church in Detroit, and a gift of the Unitarian Church Trust." So next time you're at the DIA, go find those windows. Ben and I have a joy that on Tuesday our youngest turns 12, which is very significant, and our youngest also shares a birthday with our former president, Jimmy Carter, who turns 100 years old on Tuesday. And on a personal note, I have been working at the Carter Center for the last several months, and I've had the joy of working for this amazing man's foundation. So I have a joy as well that he turns 100 on Tuesday. Another joy from Larry Larson. "It is with great joy to learn of Ann Troop's bequest of over $210,000. She loved our church for 58 years. We also have a sorrow that I would like to share from Colleen Kavanaugh. Please keep all of those affected by Hurricane Helene in your thoughts. Our son, Charlie Kosuth, and his wife, Maggie, are safe and okay. They have been without water, power, and cell service since Thursday. No reports as to when service will resume. The Asheville, North Carolina area is devastated. So we would like to keep in our thoughts everybody affected by the hurricane. As this is the last Sunday of the month, we dedicate this time as a time of remembrance. We would like to invite everybody who would like to remember somebody who has passed on in the month of September of any year to please, if you feel so moved, form a line on this side of the sanctuary. Betty will help you obtain a candle. Please remember to put them as far back as possible so no one's having to reach over a candle. And we will keep those members or people who are in your heart in our minds as you come forward. You can speak their name aloud if you'd like, or you can just keep it inside. So please feel free to do our remembrance candles at this time. as we hold each other in our hearts and minds, with all our joys and sorrows, whether spoken or unspoken, in remembrance of our loved ones, we light a final candle. We remember those experiencing losses and those facing health challenges. We pray, in whatever way we pray, for all those affected by war, by hatred, and violence. We pray for peace. Even when the cares of the world weigh on us, may we find joy in our connections with one another and in the pleasures that life holds. Let us care for one another and for ourselves in all the ways that we can. Let's take a moment now to be quiet together.
This morning's reading comes to us by Bernard Loomer. Church. When he became a member of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Berkeley, California, the process of theologian Bernard Loomer wrote this: Church is for enabling us to seek and to find some ultimate source of value and meaning. Our trust in this source outruns our knowledge. This reality is to be worshiped for its own sake, because it is worthy of our trust. In this relationship of trust and worship, the church is a reminder that we live in terms of a covenant and not in terms of a contract. Church is a living testimony that we live in the context of a mystery that far transcends our reason. We are born in mystery. We sense the impenetrable depth of mystery, and we die in mystery. Church is for seeking as well as for speaking, especially the truth of love. Church is for the enlargement of spirit and the greater freedom of self. Freedom is not an end in itself. It exists in order to enrich our communal life. Church is for encouraging us to actualize our most creative possibilities. It is also the critic of our limitations and our pretensions. Church is for understanding and for being understood. Church is for confession, for repentance, and for the compassion of forgiveness. Church is for reminding us that we are all members of the web of life, that no one is an island, and that no person is an individual outside of this context of the web. The web includes more than the present. It includes the past. Church is an important agency by which great traditions become living presences within the community. Church is the communal celebration of our elemental joys and sorrows, of our gains and losses, of great meanings. The church is for taking these elemental qualities and values of everyday life and weaving them into the very liturgy of this beautiful community.
Some of you may have noticed I am not Reverend Connie Grant. Reverend Connie is out ill today, and we wish her a speedy recovery. But it is my honor to read to you the sermon that she had prepared for today, entitled, Who Belongs Here? When I was about 12 years old, I decided I was a Unitarian Universalist. I decided on theological grounds. The Unitarian idea of one God made a lot more sense to me than the Trinity, and the Universalist idea of salvation, earthly salvation, for all, made a lot more sense to me than the idea that some people were going to hell no matter what they did. When I was 12, my decision to be a Unitarian Universalist was a purely rational one. Later on, when my son Kevin was 6 years old and was beginning to ask about his own theological questions, I was ready to join a Unitarian Universalist congregation. There were 3 Unitarian Universalist churches within reasonable driving distances from where we lived in suburban Chicago, and Kevin and I visited all 3. On the way home, Kevin would tell me something he learned in class that day, and I'd tell Kevin something I learned in the sanctuary. At the first one we visited, the sermon was interesting, and Kevin enjoyed his Sunday school class. But when I visited the information table after the service, as I stood in line, I heard the greeter say to the person in front of me, "If you haven't been to college, you probably won't feel at home here." I had been to college. I had even been to college in that particular town. But whether or not those unwelcoming words were true, the message for me at that time, as a person who was looking for a church to belong to, was that my son and I needed to continue our search. Many years later, when I returned to that congregation and stayed for 9 years to serve as a minister, I found that they were more truly welcoming to all, trying hard to explicitly and implicitly welcome those who had come through their doors, and to invite those who might wish to come through their doors if they only knew those doors existed. But at that time, my son Kevin and I continued our search. Together we agreed on the church where it felt most like we could belong, and we began attending regularly. I wasn't sure whether I liked the minister of that church wasn't sure if I liked the minister of that church all that much, and I don't think I fit theologically with the majority of the congregation, since I considered myself an agnostic, and the congregation seemed to have a theistic bent. Yet that church felt like a good place to be and to belong. On Sunday mornings, I felt both challenged and comforted, and even more crucial for me, I found ways to be of use. After a few months, I was ready to join. For me, the decision to become a member of that Unitarian Universalist congregation was an emotional decision that complemented the intellectual decision I had made much earlier. If you have joined this or any other congregation, or if you are considering joining, your story may have some things in common with mine, or it may be very different from mine. A focus group at a large and thriving Unitarian Universalist congregation found several primary reasons why people stay with their congregation: to be connected to a worshiping community, to feel spiritually grounded, to have the opportunity to do social justice work in a structured way, for religious growth and learning, to bring their dreams to life, and to share both information and skills with others. Belonging is a fundamental human need. We human beings need a haven, as well as a fueling station and a launching pad. According to Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the need to belong ranks right after needs like breathing and eating and personal safety as the foundational prerequisites for such needs as achievement and creativity. We have a need, a fundamental human need, to be known and accepted for who we are. The Christian theologian Paul Tillich writes about human separation from the ground of being, our estrangement from something to which we really belong and with which we should be united. Tillich defines the theological term grace as the reunion of life with life, the reconciliation of the self with itself. And he describes the experience of grace as knowing that you are accepted. In these terms, grace is knowing that you are accepted for who you are, as you are. It is knowing that you belong. Tillich writes, in the light of this grace, we perceive the power of grace in our relation to others and to ourselves. We experience the grace of being able to look frankly into the eyes of another, the miraculous grace of reunion of life with life. We experience the grace of understanding each other's words. We understand not merely the literal meaning of the words, but also that which lies behind them, even when they are harsh or angry. For even when there is a longing to break through the walls of separation, when someone's angry at you, for even then there is a longing to break through the walls of separation. We experience the grace of being able to accept the life of another, for through grace, we know that it belongs to the same ground to which we belong and by which we have been accepted. And so I wonder whether belonging to a religious community can be an experience of grace, an experience of being accepted and embraced for who we are, even as we challenge each other and ourselves to be our best selves. Can members of this religious community be agents of grace, of the grace of accepting and belonging? The word membership is sometimes used to describe those who donate to National Public Radio or who hold American Express cards. Membership in a religious community is, in fact, different. To belong to a Unitarian Universalist religious community is to belong to a covenanted relationship. To become a member of a Unitarian Universalist congregation is to explicitly or implicitly become a part of a covenant with others who agree to travel together in common purpose. Unlike a contract, a covenant is open-ended and flexible. A covenant is an agreement to be in relationship, and the nature of covenant is that the terms are adaptable to the realities of the relationship. The operative words in such a covenant are often "we unite" or "we associate." Some congregations recite a covenant every Sunday morning, and a new member implicitly signs on to that covenant when they join. But covenant of a congregation isn't just about words. It's about the relationship those words represent. Expectations of membership include support and participation in the life of the congregation. According to a report on the meaning of membership by the Commission on Appraisal of the Unitarian Universalist Association, if we understand the congregation to be an organic entity, every new person who participates actively in the life of the congregation changes the dynamic and, in effect, causes the covenant to be rewritten. members of a religious community belong to each other and to something larger than themselves alone. In a religious community, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. To be a member of a religious community is to be one of the parts of the whole. To take grammatic liberties, to be a member of a religious community is to be one of the parts which, summed up, the whole is greater than. In such a community, people gather together to be more and do more than they could be and do individually in order to live the best way they can and do their part to make the world a better place. Without its members, Birmingham Unitarian Church does not exist. Unlike National Public Radio, this congregation, this covenanted community, literally is its members. The Reverend Kim Beach asserts that people do not join a covenanted community, rather they constitute it. There is no it without them, and each time new folks join, the whole is literally reconstituted. Although the word reconstituted makes me think of frozen orange juice or maybe powdered milk, I really like the idea of the congregation being remade, that covenant being renewed each time a new member joins. In this view, the covenant, like the religious community itself, is dynamic and ever-changing. When people join the church, the status quo of the congregation shifts ever so slightly. Those folks who join the congregation bring their gifts and needs, their questions and responses, and by their very presence as covenanted members, the congregation is reconstituted. In the process, all are changed, individually and collectively. Some years ago, when I was meeting with a membership orientation group at a congregation in California, among the participants were a young couple with 2 small children. The husband had grown up in a Catholic church, which was no longer a fit for him theologically, and the wife had no previous experience in a religious community. They had been regularly attending the Unitarian Universalist Society for several months, and both had pitched in major ways to help put on a recent fundraising dinner at the church. As the group talked about the meaning of membership, the wife turned to her husband and said, "If I can come to church whenever I want, contribute what I can, and help out where I'm needed, what's the point of becoming a member?" And the husband replied, lightly thumping his fist to his chest, "I feel it in my heart." Do you feel in your heart what it means to be a member of Birmingham Unitarian Church?
Will you please rise in body or spirit and join in this very meaningful song, number 300, in singing the living tradition with heart and mind.
The chalice is extinguished, but its light lives on in the minds and the hearts and the souls of each one of us. Let us carry the flame with us and share it with those we know, with those we love, and most especially with those we have not yet met. May we live our lives fully and creatively so that we may be a blessing to ourselves, to each other, and to all those lives we touch. Go now into the world as a beacon of hope. Go in love, go in peace. Now that our worship has ended, our service begins.